Hey, welcome to this episode of What I Learned Today. So, in a previous recording, I was talking about roles and the different roles that we have in our life, and how sometimes having all of those roles can cause us to feel overwhelmed because, one, we're not recognizing all of the roles that we play in life and carry. And so I said some roles we're born into, so, like who your parents are, who your sibling, family members are, right? And then some roles we choose, like what jobs you take, what friends you choose to have. If you choose to be in a relationship, partnership, romantic, so forth, right? So, the different roles that we choose to play. Now, here's the thing about it. When we are in relationship with people, be it family, employer, employee, romantic, so forth, we have learned to behave in a certain way. And we usually learn it from our family that we grew up in the neighborhoods we grew up in the shows that we watch, right? We have all these influences that direct how we choose to act out our life. And then when we act a certain way, it triggers the other people in our lives to act a certain way, right? Because it's a relationship dynamic. And how many times have you heard somebody say, or yourself say, he made me or she made me do that? If they hadn't have said this, then I would not have said that. See, it's just like being on a film or a movie set where somebody gives you their script. And so, I mean, real talk. So I play Lioness in a web series called Kadaga, and I get my scripts, right? And in my scripts, it has my lines and it has the other person's lines. And when the other person says their lines, it triggers me, it activates me to say my lines. Well, it's the same thing that happens in life. When someone says something, it activates. When someone does something, it activates you to say and or do something. Now, here's the deal though. In life, the choice is yours on how you choose to play your role. And so, for instance, you may have heard people refer to themselves as a people pleaser. If that is the role that you have chosen to play, then people are going to ask things of you. They're going to want things from you. They're going to want you to do things for them, usually at your expense. And they know that if they make a request, even if you're tired, if you're hungry, if you're exhausted, if you're sick, well, you've taken on the role of being a people pleaser. So then, therefore, I'm going to say my line, which is to request something from you. And then you're going to do your part to make sure that you're pleasing me and satisfying whatever my need is, that you're responding to whatever emergency I'm having. And that's because you've learned this role of people pleasing, for example. So, should you decide that you no longer want to play that role, just like in a television series or film or something like that, how many times have we seen actors, actresses decide that they no longer want to play that role? We've seen it with in Marvel movies. We've seen it in soap operas. We've seen it in all types of shows where all of a sudden that character is no longer on the show because the person has decided they no longer want to play that role. You hear people talk about being typecast, right? They're always playing a silly father, and now they want to be a more serious actor. So they no longer take those roles. We in life also have the ability to decide to no longer take the role, so that we are no longer being activated by other people. This means that we've taken responsibility for ourselves. This means that we've taken ownership of our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. There, we're also recognizing when people are doing and saying things to attempt to activate us, right? To trigger us to do certain things. I used to say to students and things that I would work with, like, make sure that you're not being someone's show, right? When they get the remote control, they know what buttons to push to activate certain behaviors in you. But if you don't respond to them pushing those buttons, they're going eventually to put the remote down and recognize that you are not the show that they want to watch, right? But you have to take ownership and control of your behaviors, of your thoughts, and of your feelings. It is work to do it, but it can be done. And so I'll talk about emotional maturity, and that's just growing up, right? Understanding how your emotions impact your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors. So, but I'll save that for another segment. So right now, again, easy activity is, well, let me take the word easy out. An activity that you can do is write down the roles that you are choosing to play, and also the how you have been acting within those roles. Let me clarify that a little bit more for you. Write down the roles that you're playing, write down the behaviors. That's what I want to say to you. Write down the roles that you have in your life, write down the behaviors that you notice about yourself when in relation to those certain people, in relation to those certain roles, right? So, as a sister, who are you? How do you describe yourself? As a friend, who are you? How do you describe yourself? So, as a friend, I was someone who I would consider myself to be loyal, someone you could count on. I was there if you needed me. But then I had to realize I had to make some changes in that area, because sometimes I was putting myself in situations that I ain't had no business being in. It ain't had nothing to do with me. Or I had other things that I really should have been focusing on. And so I had to learn how to prioritize the things that I needed to do. I had to learn how to put up boundaries. Okay, I'll do a talk on boundaries. I had to learn how to use my voice and advocate for myself in certain situations and with certain people. And some people, it was like my voice was fine, but for sometimes other people, I noticed that it wasn't as strong or as clear. It was just different. I'd rather say that, because I always had a strong voice, but it was just different. So there's some thoughts. All right, I'll talk with you soon. Bye.